Now's a good time to remember where tequila's story truly began. In 1795, Cuervo invented tequila.
Cuervo.
What are you doing here?
Cuervo. Anytime someone says Cuervo, I show up.
Well, I do know that to be true, but even during ad reads, like...
Cuervo.
I think he could lay out, especially for one of our great partners.
Sweet, delicious Cuervo.
Since then, Cuervo has stayed true to its roots. The same family, the same land, the same passion.
Cuervo.
So, enjoy the tequila that started it all. Cuervo.
Cuervo.
The tequila that invented tequila. Proximo. Cuervo.com. Please drink responsibly.
Cuervo.
This is the Dan Levator Show with the Stugotz podcast.
The NBA and its Hall of Fame is a sordid story. I don't find it to be as amazing as MLB's Hall of Fame, but it's still cool when people get in. But it seems like it's easier to get into the NBA Hall of Fame. But what happened this weekend with the announcement of this class, I will be the first to tell you that I was blown away. One, that Billy Donovan is in the Hall of Fame. Now, it is true Florida's in the final game tonight. It is true that he won 2 titles. But the Basketball Hall of Fame for 2 titles? 2. Mickey Arison? Mickey Arison. I love Mickey. Unbelievable for our community. Unbelievable. He's in the Hall of Fame before Robert Kraft is in the Hall of Fame in football. He's the most important Hall of Fame owner in the NBA, Mickey Arison. I couldn't believe it. You, of course, Jerry, must have been over the moon because you have content, you have post-game shows. Did you get to interview Mickey?
I haven't spoken to Mickey about this, but it is pretty cool to see it as someone local and to watch this franchise be what it's been since he took over. I saw that since he became the point person for the Miami Heat, they are the winningest team in the Eastern Conference in terms of regular season record. They also, I think, are one of 6 teams with multiple titles in that stretch. So it's cool to see an owner that has had a ton of success and impacted the community the way that he has, being honored that way locally. I mean, it was exciting. It was cool news to see come across the timeline.
So Joe Lacob, correct me if I'm wrong.
Lacob? Yeah.
Lacob?
With a B.
He'll be in the Hall of Fame.
I would think so at some point. Right? I mean,
Why
I don't
not
know.
At this point. Why? What shocked me more was the timing.
I assume that is a tenure of owning the franchise thing. I don't know the answer. I didn't look at all of the nominees on the ownership side of it, but my assumption would be is this is sort of a ticking guys off the list who are on that list over the span of years in which they've owned these franchises. But maybe I'm wrong.
So all you need, you okay, Jessica? All you need you need time, rings, and you need to be loved. So how come I'm not in the Hall of Fame?
Well, you're not a team owner, so.
True. But as an executive, I could have been.
Meh.
Loved?
Time?
Rings.
Time?
Well, if you want to
Time
spend,
was on my side.
If you want to spend some time at Mickey Arison's arena watching the Miami Heat tonight, it's one of the 2 games tonight. The Sixers at the Heat and the Kings at the Pistons. So if you're in Detroit, if you're in Miami and you want to go to one of those games, you should use Game Time to do so. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Dan for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. What time is it, Roy?
Game time.
Game time.
Game time.
Can there be a game that we go to where there's no winner? Does there have to be a
like
winner
a
in the
tie?
NBA?
In the NBA, yeah, I
I'm
think
just
someone has to
asking
win
because
eventually.
it seems like the Sixers and Heat don't want to win. So
The Heat want to win.
Who would? What are they? They can't get a home. They can't get a home game in the play-in, can they?
They can still get a home game.
A lot
in the
has to
play-in.
happen though.
No, I think
No,
they're
it's
only.
easy?
I think at this point they're either a game back or tied with the Bulls, who they play later this week. So
What's the DraftKings line tonight? Because the Sixers are a disaster.
They
Line
are a
subject to change.
game behind the Bulls and 2 games behind the Hawks, just so that we can all be aware of where things stand. The Heat are the 10 seed.
I think the NBA is ridiculous right now. I'm loving it. I'm following it. I'm a big fan of the play-in tournament. We had a conversation about tanking on this show on Nothing Personal as well. But the Sixers, they're a team that you have to be embarrassed about in every possible way.
They've sort of always been the franchise that you could be embarrassed about in that respect, right? Because they tried to lose for so many seasons only for it to turn out for them to continue to be losers. The Heat are a 14.5-point favorite tonight.
14.5.
Yeah, look, the Heat have lost, I think, they've lost back-to-back games here, but the loss before their win streak began and these last 2 games have all been by, I think, a combined 3 or 4 points total. They've been these heartbreaking losses at the buzzer. So they've been, over the last couple of weeks, playing better than they were before. And when that's going up against the Sixers, who are in every sense of the term trying to lose, it's how you end up with a line like that one.
As an executive, I can only tell you that when you double down on a player, the way that the Blue Jays are doing on Vladimir Guerrero now, the way they signed him 14 years, $500 million, the way the Sixers did with Embiid, they bring in Paul George, they bring in Tyrese, and they're all hurt, they all stink. And as an executive, you can't give up. And that's the worst thing for fans because you just keep doubling down. You double down. You say it's going to change. It's going to get better. They're going to get better next year. And the Sixers, it's done. If you're a Sixers fan.
The Paul George contract really sent it overboard.
Except when he signed.
No, everybody
happy.
was excited. Of course they were because they wanted another name brand player that could be alongside Joel Embiid. But Embiid's health has been an issue for his entire career. And now you've seen how many combinations of teammates not work. It's really a shame because the health thing was really the biggest issue this year, seemingly. They were never able to gel. Paul George was awful. Like, he had a really bad season. But who knows if he had been even a little bit healthy and the rest of that group had been healthy, because Jared McCain and Tyrese Maxey, that was a fun young backcourt you could look at. There are all these what ifs that you can do. But when you're a franchise like Philadelphia, how many years of what if with the same exact result over and over again can you possibly
so that
hang your
has
hat
to be
on?
it. That has to be the point. I think we need to eliminate what ifs from professional sports because what ifs do nothing, and fans are such a fan of that concept.
What if we eliminated what ifs from professional sports?
Ooh.
I would like to. There should be no what ifs. You shouldn't be allowed to say, hey, we were going to be good, but what if this guy played better? What if that shot had gone in? We can do a top 10 list of the what ifs that people use for their sports teams and their life. It's actually just rationalization for a disappointment in life on any level. You say, but for, what if? I think we should outlaw all of it because it gives people easy excuses. It gives Daryl Morey the ability to say, hey, don't judge me. What if all our guys were healthy who I signed? Then I'd be the greatest executive ever. What if Flag had not missed the shot, or what if they'd gotten the rebound? What if they'd gotten the ball in bounds? I'm not a fan. It's sports. It happened.
But the best what if is what if Ray Allen hadn't made the shot, right?
That's a great one.
That's one of the best.
I mean, for Miami people, most people have no idea what you're talking about.
I think everybody knows the
Does
Ray Allen
everyone
shot.
out of Miami know the Ray Allen shot?
Yeah, if I say the Ray Allen shot, anyone who watches basketball knows what it is.
shot.
It's one
I
of the
thought
greatest
everyone knew
shots
the
in
Cal
NBA finals history.
Ripken conspiracy theory in the last
Yeah,
segment.
I guess that's true.
And I guess maybe everyone doesn't know. Billy, did you know it?
Yeah, I had heard of it, but we do this thing sometimes where when we all know the thing, we don't really set up what the thing is. Yeah. So then we're talking about it, but then at times people get mad that we don't explain it to them. Then at times people get mad when we over-explain things to them. So there's really no winning.
You
What
can't make
if
everyone
no
happy.
one got unhappy?
Utopia.
Dystopia.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you guys have someone in your lives who you count on to give you sort of grounding? I have someone in my life who gives me grounding because when I think there's a major story or something that's hugely important and I mention it to her and she says, I have no idea what you're talking about. And this is a well-read, educated person. Do you have anyone in your life, Billy, who does that when you think that something is totally major and then you realize, oh, God.
I am surrounded by people who are not particularly impressed by me. Not entirely by choice, but like I'm not, this isn't like specific to a topic or your question, but like I'm not surrounded by people who listen to the show or love the show or whatever, right? There might be some, but for the most part, it's not like what I do here always crosses over to what I'm doing outside of work, right? Because the people that I know have different interests or whatever. So like, I never let anything really get to my head or whatever because I'm grounded very easily when I'm just told by all the people around me, no one cares about that.
So that's pretty common.
No one has seen this or knows about this.
I think only my mother listens to my show every day. I don't think my
Your
father,
mom?
when he was alive, my father would call after every show and criticize it.
How old's your mom?
Every show. When I was running the Marlins, my dad did the same thing. We'd lose a game. My dad would call and say, how could you not have taken out this pitcher? How did you allow Yelich to strike out there? You got to pull him for a pinch hitter.
My dad listens to almost every episode that I'm in.
Does he call you and give you some pointers?
He gets mad at me when he learns things about my life from the show that he didn't know about me beforehand because I didn't tell him or whatever. He gets mad about that. Like he found out, this was a rough one. I think he found out that I got in a car accident because I talked about it on the show. and I hadn't told him because I got hit. It's this whole thing. I don't want to be ageist again, but this old man that shouldn't have been driving crashed into me. Damn, guy was like 93 years old, hit me. Then we get like the written report, and I assume, okay, I'm fine. Like his insurance is going to pay for it, so I go to his insurance because he just flat out ran a red light and just crashed into me. And then the report was like inconclusive. The police officer didn't choose a side or whatever. There's traffic cameras, and we called every agency of local government to get access to those cameras, and they basically were like, well, they're kind of just for funsies. They're like, we only use those if you run a red light. I'm like, perfect. This is the scenario I was in. Someone ran a red light and hit me. How do we get that footage? And they're like, well, we can't really get that footage. We can just kind of use it and watch live if we want, but we can't actually track it down. Let me tell you something about cameras, David. They never work when you need them, okay? Never once in my life has a security camera come in to save the day. It's always, my car got hit. Let's go to the security camera of the parking garage. It got hit in. Oh, no, those cameras haven't worked for years. Cameras never work. When you need a camera, they never work
There
for
was
any
like this
reason.
whole Miami Herald article I read a few weeks ago about the new cameras they put on, I think, school buses that are supposed to catch people
They do.
speeding
Those
past-
do.
Well, apparently they've been sending tickets to people that have not been breaking the law at all, and it's for like a $250 fine or something, and all these people are like, wait a second, I didn't do that. I was like, I was on the other side of the median. What are you talking about?
You have to stop on the other side. I believe.
Okay,
that
well, the
when-
point of the story was that there were people that were being falsely
Badly?
issued tickets.
Listen,
Did you see the Richard Sherman thing? The cameras.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
So he was robbed at gunpoint while he was home, and he released his security footage. And you'd think that someone of his means would have better security. How you can identify someone from that footage?
The only security cameras that seem to be working presently that are actually getting people arrested are the ones on Teslas. Every other security camera, you can't identify a person. For some reason, like if you go and you like write on a Tesla, you're going to jail for 45 years. Like
At
don't
least.
don't deface a Tesla or put gum on like a handle because then it's like a felony because the handles are so expensive.
Teslas are very expensive to fix, I've heard.
Yeah.
I've been in an Uber Tesla. I've never driven a Tesla.
Same. I know someone that had. I've known a couple people that had them that have sold them. Not for like reasons of whatever. They sold them before. One was
because like they didn't like them.
no, like
I know someone that sold theirs because they're like, this car stinks.
One of my friends would get nauseous when driving it. Allegedly. Do I have to say allegedly? One of my friends allegedly would get nauseous while driving it.
I mean, if he told you that he got
Right.
nauseous from driving,
No, it's a
Well,
bumpy,
it was-
it's a bumpy ride.
It was a she, Roy. Way to be open-minded.
I
So
apologize,
she sold it
she.
because she was nauseous, and then my cousin had one and sold it because he would go on road trips because he didn't live here, and he'd come to visit the family and would have to stop to recharge it like halfway, and it just got to a point where he's like, I can't. It's just too much work for me.
I wouldn't do the self-drive thing.
Oh no!
Ever.
Get out of here.
I'm way too controlling for that. I would like to try the parallel park thing, but I'm also too scared to do that. I do my own parallel parking.
I'm more nervous about the car crashing by itself than being controlling.
And the irony, of course, is that it's supposed to be safer than you're driving. Because there's no human, you don't close your eyes, you don't get distracted, you don't look at your phone. All the things that are so bad for drivers that are part of the world, that this is the future. Automatic driving, taxis without drivers, this is coming.
I don't like the idea that the car can just decide, like, you know what? You want to go to Burger King? Nah, let's go to the gym instead. And I get locked in the car and I get taken to LA Fitness. And it's like, time to work out, fatty. Like,
How great would that be? They measure
That'd be
your
terrible.
BMI.
I don't want to work out.
Wait, imagine a car that measures your health and that it takes you to the place to do something like you're not allowed to go. Think about what would happen to coronary artery disease if people weren't allowed to go to McDonald's.
I think I'd rather die.
So that means the car is taking your data.
This is
And
true.
could be
This is-
selling it.
You don't have data anymore, Roy. Like, get
Let's
rid of the
be
idea that
honest.
you
Your
have
data is not yours.
Yeah, you don't have any data
So
anymore.
you got to get past that fact.
Okay.
Everyone knows where you are and what you're doing at all times. Not everybody cares, but everybody knows.
Big brother.
Big Brother, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's just a fact of our existence. Now, you can be the guy or the girl or the person. Do you put anything over your camera when you're not using it on your MacBook? You do that?
Well,
Come
no,
on.
the actual camera, the external camera
No,
has a little
the-
flap, but the computer camera, no.
You know, there are people who do that because they think that somebody's watching them. And I don't mean like Jeffrey Toobin type stuff. I mean, they just, whatever. They don't want to be seen, period, by the deep state.
It was on a Zoom call, so.
Yeah, that's all on him. Yeah.
Well, I'm certainly not
He did it to
saying
himself,
he
literally.
did it to himself. 1-0 Billy. I'm not of that view that we're at risk in that way, because I've always learned. There was a teacher I had in high school who said, everything you say or do, be prepared for it to be on the front page of the paper. And that's before I was in a public job. And so that's why I've always been fine. Like everything I've done, if it's on the front page, it's on the front page. And I think if we all lived that way, I think it would be a better world. If you were all prepared to read everything you did on the front page of the paper.
I doubt that. I don't think anybody cares anymore.
There's a Black Mirror episode about that, I think, with nope, not remembering her name. Schitt's Creek. Anybody? Annie Murphy. Thank you.
Annie Murphy.
Thank you, my own brain, for bringing that back. There's a Black Mirror episode where the whole premise is that her life is a reality TV show. So she goes home
Truman Show.
and she turns on the TV, and there is her life right out in front of her.
You don't think human beings should have an expectation of privacy?
I do believe we should have an expectation of privacy. However, it's become unrealistic. I'm merely a pragmatist. I would like to just point out to people that if you have that expectation, it's okay to have it, but don't fool yourself into thinking that you actually have it. And you may all think that you do, but you don't. And it is what it is. Like, do people really care whether you go to LA Fitness or McDonald's?
My car does, apparently.
Do people really care what video you're watching as long as it's not how to make a bomb? Now, of course, there's certain categories you try to avoid, but in general, the reality is that no one cares what we do 99.99% of the time. So I just wouldn't panic. That's the theme of the show today. The through line to the show is people are panicked. They're panicked about their sports teams. They're panicked about their money. They're panicked about their retirement, whether they have it, whether they can retire, the state of the world, climate change, the president. Everyone's panicked. I think the through line here is that we need to be the voice of calm.
I mean, yeah, I don't think people should go like act rashly, but I think there's definitely cause to be in a state of panic over everything that's happening. It's very naive to just be like, don't panic, everything will be fine.
I didn't say that. Now you just put words in my mouth. I didn't say everything will be fine, and I didn't say not to act. I act all the time, and so do you. But what I would say is when you act out of panic, you rarely act efficiently.
Well, how about being slightly concerned?
I'm in for that.
Okay.
I'm in for even gravely concerned.
Oh, wow.
I'm willing to go that
Up the
far.
ante.
But that is way below panic. I just don't think anything good happens when people panic.
Gravely concerned.
I'm gravely concerned. I'm going to change the way I do things. I'm going to go to LA Fitness because I'm gravely concerned that I got a bad calcium score in my arteries.
Just
Therefore.
Tums.
No, different thing.
Okay. Bone density is down.
This is the one.
I know what you're talking about.
This is the one that people suffer when all of a sudden you're in the middle of a show and then boom, the lights go out.
Oh.
Because you have the big one. Wheezy, I'm coming home.
Oh.
Is that another
No.
reference?
Sanford and Son. Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey. That's when you
Isn't there a Wheezy?
Yeah, Wheezy's the
Jeffersons.
Jeffersons. But
You never said, Wheezy, I'm coming home?
No, George Jefferson did not save that. No. Fred Sanford said,
This is Roy's
Elizabeth,
wheelhouse.
I'm
he's
coming
right.
to join you, honey.
He's
I
right.
love Sanford and Son.
Yeah.
Do you?
I
do
do.
you?
Big one. I'm
But I've
coming
always
for you,
said Wheezy.
Elizabeth.
Well, two different shows by
Well, I
Norman
know it's
Lear.
two different
At least I
shows.
think it was Norman Lear.
Those shows were ahead of their time. Go back and watch All in the Family. You can't have a show like All in the Family now.
No, absolutely not.
Nor should you. Except at the time it was groundbreakingly funny. I want to get back to the panic part. Are you at your
Greatly
best
concerned.
as a journalist on deadline? That's a great one. Are you the procrastinator that you do things right at the last minute?
I don't know if I've ever been a journalist on deadline.
So work with me here.
Okay.
Just try. Just
Okay.
right here.
Like
is
Houston
where-
Duke.
I work best with a strong deadline, yes. I work best if I know I have to do something by 8 p.m. I will do it, and it'll be done on time. If you're like, yeah, your deadline's, maybe next week, maybe the week after, I'm not going to get to it right away. Yeah. So yes, I work better when I'm a little under pressure.
So you're a
to meet
procrastinator?
deadline. No, not necessarily. I'll make sure I have the time to do something. I'm not going to like completely cast it aside to do, frivolous nonsense. If I have other work to do, though, I'll get that work done first before the thing with the nebulous deadline.
So the thing about the panic that comes to play, because I was that way too. I'm a procrastinator, but I always have a plan of knowing when things have to get done, and I know how much time it'll take me to do it. But what I find is panic impacts efficiency. So I found that I wasn't as good doing a paper or doing something that I had to do if I waited past that inflection point of knowing that I had to start it to finish it by deadline. If I tried to squeeze, it's like trying to do one more thing before you have to go to the bathroom. Am I the only one who does that? You have to go to the bathroom, you try one more exit in the car. I can make it one more rest stop. I can make it one more errand. And then all of a sudden, you need a new pair of undies. I can't be the only one that's happened to.
No, I mean, I also push it. I mean, I don't know about the new pair of undies part of it, but I'm also similar to you in that, like, yeah, it's you're doing the long distance drive across our state, and it's like the next rest stop's in 39 miles, and it's like I have to pee a little bit, but not so much that I have to stop right now, so I'm going to try to make it the next 39 miles, and then like 4 miles in, you're like, shit, that was the wrong decision.
And then before you know it, you've pulled over.
Yeah, no, you got it. Exactly.
In
If
there.
you're at the Yeehaw Junction, you've already lost, Roy.
Yeah.
Screwed.
Game over.
That means you're practically at Disney World. I used to love getting to that junction.
Oh, yeah. It's a landmarker.
It means you're
almost
making
there.
progress.
Yeah.
Like, it's a meaningful thing. For those of you who don't know, when you drive from South Florida up to Orlando, which for some reason you have to do as a parent. As a parent, when I was raising kids in New York, it was never even a thought that you'd go to Disney World. It's far and it's expensive. And then I had a child living in Florida, and it was, yeah, of course, you take this kid to Disney.
Rite of passage.
Yeah, why?
Passage.
Because of how. But it's, in New York, there's no rite of passage to go to Six Flags.
Why
The
would you
one
wanna
in
do
Jersey.
Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to go to New Jersey?
Well, I'm saying you're in New York.
But people travel from all over the world to go to Disney World or to Disneyland. So when you have something that's within, what, a 3-hour drive, 3.5-hour drive, it feels like the type of thing that makes sense, no?
But it was an obligation. It was not a choice. And that's what always bothered me about it. It was not even keeping up with the Joneses. It was not about socioeconomic position. It was everyone goes to Disney.
Right.
Period. Hard stop. I'm against that. And I was forced to do it.
So go to Universal then.
Well, they're too short in the beginning.
Yeah, because
And
it's
you
all
can't do
like
the
roller
rides.
coasters and
It's
stuff.
all big rides. I used to cheat with height at Six Flags in Illinois.
Did you put stuff in your shoes?
Yes.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, we do
Yes.
that every year with the kids we take to Universal for camp. For the camp I volunteer for, every year we have to try to find a way to stuff their shoes with enough like paper towel or things like that to get them just tall enough to be able to go on
Let
rides.
me talk about litigation for one quick sec, if you don't mind. So
Please.
I was not aware because I was a kid and I was always short. And all I cared about was going to the ride. And back then, and I have a tattoo of it now. It was the with the Roadrunner. It was the Coyote, and his hand would be out, and you had to touch the
tail?
ledge,
Oh, the ledge.
in order to
With the
go
top
on
of
the
your
ride
head.
with the top of your head. So I went through a stage where I would spike my hair. And because if you spike your hair, listen, it's the closest I could ever come to a fro, and it gives you 3 inches, which can be the difference maker.
Right.
And so I go through all this stuff in my shoes. That's a Tuesday. Talking about the napkins, the brown napkins like we have here at Metal Arc.
Exactly.
These are the ones you get at the
Just
place.
stuff 'em in the
stuff
shoe.
them in. That gives you 2 inches easy. Until I found out that the reason for the height restriction is the belt on the roller coasters. And if you're too short, the belt becomes ineffective and you can die. And then I stopped having my kids lie about height.
Last year, what we took, because mind you, the camp that I volunteer for it's a group of children who are either presently battling or have gone through battles with cancer. And so it's tough enough to say no to a little kid who's upset. It's even harder to say no to this little kid who's upset. And our sweetest and cutest camper, he's 8 years old. The year before had to accept, like, he was 3 inches too short to go on one of these rides, and we calmed him down. He was like 7 years old. We calmed him down. We got him to accept it. Our lead counselor sits off the ride with him, but then the next year it's like, all right, I've grown 3 inches now. I know I've grown 3 inches. My doctor told me I grew 3 inches. I'm going to be good to go. And he gets to the Hulk, and I mean, and we had already preemptively stuffed his shoes with napkins. We were ready for it. We're like, he's for sure going to blow by, and he comes up like a quarter of an inch short, and we tried to. I mean, we played every card that we had available to
and
the
those
people running
bastards
it,
are serious
and
about
they
it.
understandably are so serious about it. But I have not witnessed a profound sadness and just tears streaming down this kid's face. Not my child, even a kid who I'm trying to give the best summer, and he's just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. And no matter what we did, they would not budge. And I completely understand it, given what you just said, which is this is really about the belt. But that is like that's got to be one of the worst feelings you can have as a kid, is the coming up just short.
It is. It's actually. It stays with me to this day. If you ask me about the bullying I got for being short, which I did for sure, the biggest impact of being small was at amusement parks, was for height. And there were many things. There was like with like jet skiing, or there's certain things there was one at what's the thing? Oh, come on, guys! When you bumper cars.
Oh yeah,
bumper
sure.
cars. You had to be a certain height to have your own bumper car, and I had to go with a parent.
This was the affliction of having older cousins. Like, I didn't have older siblings, but I had older cousins, and when we would all go to any of these places and they were, 12, 13, 14 years old, and I was like 7, 8, or 9 years old, I couldn't go on any of the stuff that they did. But it wasn't the same experience as what I imagine it was when it's all of my friends of the same age, and now I'm the shortest in the group, and I can't go on the ride that they can.
So I used to actually, when there were class trips to amusement parks, I would be sick. Because I didn't want to.
That's so sad, David.
We had class ice skating trips, and my mom made me use my sister's ice skates, which were white.
Oh, figure skates?
Figure skates. And I refused to go to skating wearing white skates, and so I would be sick every single time we went ice skating as a school. Parents don't think of these things. I couldn't afford my own skates for 5 times, so my sister had skates. Then I used them, and they were white skates. And there's this thing that white skates are for girls and black skates are for guys. I don't know if that's a thing anymore.
No,
we live in Florida. I have no idea.
So no one figure skates?
Well, I mean, I wear hockey skates, and the ones you rent at the War Memorial at the Iceplex is red for I think for the figure skates, and gray for the hockey skates. So it's not white anymore.
So they stopped. So you guys you may be too young for this. There used to be white skates and black skates for figure skaters, and that was a thing. It's very sad.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was dealing with piles of paperwork and frustrating forms, and then waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back. Now Taxes is easily uploading your forms to a TurboTax expert who's matched to your unique tax situation, an expert who's backed by the latest technology, which cross-checks millions of data points for 100% accuracy. While they work on your taxes, you get real-time updates on their progress, and then you get the most money back, guaranteed. All while you go about your day. No stressing, no worrying, no waiting. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Folks, I want to talk to you about Game Time. I've been using the Game Time map plenty as I'm starting to plan my summer concert season, looking for great trips around concerts, and also with a sporting equinox in town, essentially, I've been checking the Game Time app every single day to see if I can get great deals on NASCAR and tennis. And let me tell you about this amazing new feature that Game Time has now called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. You can even find last-minute tickets up to 60% off quickly and easily using Game Time Picks. Game Time Picks makes curation easier to find better value for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. You know, the whole deal. And it's got all in pricing. With a little click of a tab, you don't get surprised at checkout. You know what you're getting into. Seat views, panoramic seat views from the seats that you're thinking about buying. You get to see exactly what your view would look like. That was super clutch at a concert I went to last week. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DAN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DAN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Hey friends, it's Bear here, and I'm here to tell you all about Boost Mobile, which is now a legit nationwide 5G network. So I must take a break from the jokes here for a second and put on my serious voice, because I would never ever joke about a 5G network that has invested billions building 5G towers across the country. Not even once. Not even if Mr. Boost Mobile himself asked me to. There is nothing funny about it. Boost Mobile is now a legit nationwide 5G network and also provides coverage across 99% of America. Seriously. Visit boostmobile.com or your nearest Boost Mobile store location to learn more. The Boost Mobile network, together with our roaming partners, covers 99% of the U.S. population. 5G speeds, not available in all areas.
Dan Le Batard.
We love you. We've got you. We've all got each other. Let's go right now.
Stugotz.
1, 2, 3, Brett. 1, 2, 3, Brett.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
All right, I got to talk about something else if you don't mind.
Sure. It's your show today.
Do you think it's possible that religion can cure you? You know the people who say they found Jesus? They found the Lord?
This is about White Lotus.
No. It's about Russell Brand. It's about Russell Brand, who's being charged with things left, right, and center, and saying, hey, I was a bad guy, but now I found the Lord. And he did it. He released a video. If no one's seen it, you should check it out. It seems to be the greatest way to make an excuse ever for your behavior. You just say, I was young, stupid, and I had not yet found God. Now, everything's good.
I hope he did, but that doesn't excuse any of the behavior or crimes that he's accused of. You know what I mean? Like,
why do you hope he found the Lord?
If that's something that brings him comfort, and if that's something that leads him on the right ethical path from here on out, that's great. That's not right for everybody. Some people can find their own ethical path without needing to find specifically a given religion. If he did, wonderful. But the things he's accused of, one has nothing to do with the other. Like the fact that he's throwing out this idea of like, oh, I found God, and in turn I should have this merciful view from you is pathetic, and it spits in the name of the people who actually have used religion for good within their lives, like to actually follow a moral code.
Well,
so
to
me, I find it all preposterous.
In theory, he is using it for good. In theory, he's now a good person. I'm sad about it only because I enjoyed watching him work. And he's of the category where I'm not going to separate art from the artist. I pick and choose when I do that, and Russell Brand doesn't rise to the level of the separation for me. Like Michael Jackson, I still listen to his songs. I'm willing to. I'm willing to watch Kevin Spacey movies. But Russell Brand, I don't care enough about him. Once he does what he did, allegedly, I think we're done with him.
Still watching The Cosby Show?
No. That's a great one. I don't eat Jell-O. Or pudding. Jeremy has no idea the reference.
I didn't.
Is that an old reference also?
Is it to The Cosby Show? Then yes.
Bill Cosby was one of the great endorsers of a product in history.
Coca-Cola and Jell-O. He did the pudding.
Jell-O brand gelatin.
I knew the pudding one, but that's for parody reasons.
He was a huge, huge endorsement guy back before, bigger
Kodak.
than athletes. Bill Cosby, do people realize the length and depth of his stardom?
I understand that he was a gigantic superstar. I just didn't understand the specific reference to his endorsements.
Yeah, he was on TV. You couldn't go through a set of commercials during his heyday, during a sporting event. Forget a regular show on TV. You couldn't go through and not see Bill Cosby on a commercial.
He was thinking about buying NBC at one point, but they wouldn't let him.
That's interesting. That's like a player trying to buy a team. There aren't many players who can buy teams. Because he was on NBC. That was the Cosby Show network.
Correct.
And there was a time, 8 o'clock. Was it Tuesdays at 8?
Tuesdays, yep.
Tuesdays at 8. He ruled. And didn't it go into Seinfeld? Cosby, A Different World, into Seinfeld? Or into Cheers?
Was in the 9 o'clock hour.
Used to matter, those hours. No one talks about that anymore.
Must-see TV.
But for White Lotus, I was in front of the TV at 9 o'clock. I assume everybody was last night. It's what we do.
Roy, do you watch Lotus?
No, ma'am.
Oh man,
Should we do it?
I assumed, but
Spoiler alert.
Okay, spoiler alert.
does
Spoiler
that
alert.
mean?
Spoiler alert. To everyone listening, there are just over 6 minutes left in this hour. If you're listening or watching and you watch White Lotus and don't want to be spoiled, tune out now.
Fair.
We're going to spend the rest of this hour talking about White Lotus.
Come back for the postgame show.
And come back for the post-game show. We want you here.
how much time did you say?
It's now 6 minutes and 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And we still get credit for the listen, the number, and the download, but we don't want you to leave. However, I'm going to spoil White Lotus because I don't believe in the whole spoiler thing. It was on. You've had time to watch.
Well, we made a rule a couple
been a
of
day.
weeks back that we were going to do spoiler Wednesdays, so we gave everyone like 3 days to catch up to the Sunday shows. This, however, is the finale, so it's a little different.
So
I
there's
think it
5
was
minutes and 40 seconds left.
Appointment viewing
Yes.
last night, 9 o'clock. Am I the only one who was hitting refresh on Max, waiting for the new tag to come?
You might have been. I was watching the Knicks game, so I just flipped over at 9.
Yeah.
But when you flipped at 9, it was available?
Yeah.
Mine didn't come till like 9:01. I was a minute late. It
you
could have
send a
been
letter?
it could have, no, I didn't think there'd be any redress whatsoever.
Did you skip the intro and the recap so you would be on par with everyone else?
No, I skip intro and recap to every episode except the last episode. So the finale of a series, I'll rewatch the intro music, which I hadn't watched since episode 1, and then I'll watch the recap of the final before the final episode. And I did. And I wanted to talk all about the Duke litigation because that to me was going to be the most interesting.
I'm just glad Duke lost
Me
on
too.
Saturday because I was kind of nervous we were going to get to the point where they win the national championship and that meme just never.
Yeah.
I was also thinking, like, and this is maybe a spoiler, when he gets his phone back at the end, the dad, do you think he found out that Duke lost
Ooh,
and got really
right.
upset?
He
And
was
then
like, guys, things
actually
are about
shot
to
himself?
change.
It was filmed way before that. The answer is, I thought the end with that family, didn't you assume the end was that they all found on their phones the fact that they had lost all their money?
Yes.
And they were fine.
They just didn't really show any sort of reaction.
Yeah.
Did you like the finale? I didn't think it was that great.
I was very upset that everyone could leave the island after all the deaths that quickly without talking about it. How does that
Sort
work?
of seemed like there might have been a time jump, though.
Had to be.
They were
Had to be
packed. They said it's
because-
the last night.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
A time jump of like maybe like 6 or 7 hours. Like
Oh.
it seemed like it was sort of sunset when they were leaving. I'm like, I don't really want to give the writers the benefit of the doubt because I found so many plot holes with the entire season. But that at least I was like, okay, maybe they stuck around for a little bit and then they left.
Can you imagine sending $5 million to someone without a written agreement?
Okay, not even just that, but there's a clear paper trail with this guy whose wife died extremely mysteriously. Apparently, he's wanted by police, and you're accepting $5 million from him. I also want to know, as I alluded to earlier, is she going to report this as income? Because she's going to get audited. Going from like $12,000 to now I'm going to be spending all of this money that appeared with a clear paper trail in my account. Like, come
I
on.
assumed he was paying I assume he filed the gift tax return.
Okay, maybe.
So I assumed it was a gift, not in terms of a consideration. A consideration would mean that she has to do something to get that money, to get full legal consideration. I couldn't think of what the consideration was other than her not telling the fact that he was an accomplice to murder and hiding.
Why? But why not just launder the money if he's clearly already a suspect in a mysterious death?
He's also hiding out in Thailand, and
I know she knows where he is.
And no, but like, and also like had his ex-wife murdered. I don't think he's filing his American taxes. If I'm going to be
Right.
honest with you, I think that he's skipping April 15th.
Do you think he took all of his money out of the American bank, though, that her money was in?
It wouldn't have been transferred that way. I was just shocked. She had $12,683 in her account and then had $5 million. And the son was all celebrating. And the line of the episode was, "Can't you just let me be effing rich for 5 minutes?" Because with money is problems and complications. And so he wanted to get going with his mom. And then boom, she's celebrating the $5 million.
Yeah, she did that masseuse
And
dirty.
then,
Yeah.
well, that's the
I felt so
point.
Bad for him.
So the whole point of the end of White Lotus, of her story arc, is she gets the money and she turns into Tanya. She does exactly to the guy what was done
And
to her.
it seemed so obvious and predictable. Like all of that finale felt very I enjoy the show, and I like the show, and I don't think it was like a waste of time to watch the show. It was extremely entertaining, and even the finale, I was very entertained. However, like Billy and I said last week on Mystery Crate, they needed to really knock this finale out of the park for us to be like, great season. And,
Legacy episode for
what did you
Pop-Up.
think, Billy? Legacy episode?
Did you think Lachlan was going to be the one to die? Or that
one of them
was going to
needed
die
to
except
die.
Lachlan?
I needed one of them to die.
I was chanting chug at my TV when they were drinking the pina
like
colada.
a Jonestown.
I wanted them to die. Yeah, Jonestown.
Can you imagine doing that to your child, that you kill everyone in the family but your son? I thought that was out. I was so uncomfortable watching that. I was pissed.
The more like for him to hear all of them talk about, I don't think I could live. I don't think I could live. All right, cool. Do you think you could live if I killed the rest of our family? Maybe that should have been a part of the conversation.
I would have liked that to have been.
Like, oh, do you think you could live without money? Yeah. Do you think you could live without money and also the death of your mother, father, brother, and sister? Maybe a different answer.
Maybe he just knew about the tariffs. Maybe he knew that the American economy was going to crash the day after this episode aired, and Duke was going to lose.
I think the disappointing part was that the daughter spent one night in the monastery and said, "That's it."
That was so
I'm
lame.
ready to
Like
move
she did
for
all
you.
this research on this monastery,
night.
and then was like, "Oh my god! Well, I stayed, and it didn't have air conditioning,
and the food stinks."
The line about but you could just tell it wasn't organic is, I thought, that was top tier writing. That was top tier writing.
The only thing organic about that episode was the food that they served to them, I assume, at the resort. But you should definitely watch it. It's worth your time.
Folks, I want to talk to you about Game Time. I've been using the Game Time map plenty as I'm starting to plan my summer concert season, looking for great trips around concerts, and also with a sporting equinox in town, essentially, I've been checking the Game Time app every single day to see if I can get great deals on NASCAR and tennis. And let me tell you about this amazing new feature that Game Time has now called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. You can even find last-minute tickets up to 60% off quickly and easily using Game Time Picks. Game Time Picks makes curation easier to find better value for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. You know, the whole deal. And it's got all in pricing. With a little click of a tab, you don't get surprised at checkout. You know what you're getting into. Seat views, panoramic seat views from the seats that you're thinking about buying. You get to see exactly what your view would look like. That was super clutch at a concert I went to last week. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DAN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DAN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Folks, it's Mike Ryan, and do you know that Miller Lite has basically been a partner of this show for almost 20 years? And as we celebrate 50 years of Miller Lite, that means for a large chunk of it, and look, I didn't go to school for math, but I'm pretty sure that's like 80% of the time that Miller Lite's been existing, they've been with our show. And I'm so grateful for it because we truly believe this. If you listen to us back in our radio days, throughout our times in national radio, to the pirate phase, to now, you know that Miller Lite has been a huge supporter of ours. And I've always been a huge supporter of Miller Lite. Why? Because it's got taste you know you can depend on. A great beer, trusted by beer lovers for 50 years. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.